The realm. Do you know what the realm is? It's the 1,000 blades of Aegon's enemies. A story we agree to tell each other over and over till we forget that it's a lie.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back from my Game of Thrones Season 8 Episode 4 breakdown video. Now that I have seen the episode a couple times, I want to sit down and get my thoughts on what happened. I am noticing there are a lot of fans that do not like the new episode again, but I actually enjoyed this one. There were some scenes that I did not really care for, but overall I thought it was an interesting episode. I really like some of the new things they are setting up for the final 2 episodes, but maybe that's me. I guess I will find out as soon as all of you start commenting on the video. Well, let's start off by talking about Daenerys Targaryen. Dany really got her ass kicked in this episode in a number of different ways. First, she had to say her final farewells to Ser Jorah Mormont, someone that has been there since the very first episode of the show. As you all know, they had their ups and downs over the years, but Jorah became one of the very few characters that I think Daenerys knew she could trust. Now that he's gone, you could see that Dany was already starting to feel the impact of his loss. That was shown in one of the very next scenes when everyone was celebrating their victory over the Army of the Dead. Daenerys was surrounded by everyone that was having fun, but she had no one by her side. She might as well have been sitting in the room all by herself because it was almost as if she wasn't even there. The Lannisters were back together, so now they're off drinking and having fun. Jon is hanging out with his close friends, so he's drinking and having fun. Even Dany's other close friend, Missandei, is now spending most of her time with someone else. Other than Varys, who she cannot trust, which is something I have said, Dany had no one in that moment. This is something that Varys noticed almost immediately. Him and Dany could see how everyone was acting around Jon. Now, although Dany was out there on her dragon just as much as Jon was, they still see Jon as their leader. No matter how much Dany helps, they will always see her as an outsider. Daenerys knows if they ever find out Jon is the rightful heir to the Iron Throne, everyone will line up to stand beside him before they would continue to stand beside her. We saw them talk about this when they were alone together. Now, it's no secret, I'm a big fan of Jon Snow. I always have been and I probably always will be, but I felt really bad for Daenerys after this episode was over. She came to Winterfell ready to sacrifice every single thing that she had in order to help stop the Army of the Dead. She did not have to do this. Now, it would have been really dumb for her not to, but she could have went for the Iron Throne like she wanted. Then she could have tried to fight the Army of the Dead when they eventually killed everyone at Winterfell and came down to King's Landing. Dany had that choice, but thankfully she made the right one. Not only did she bring her entire force, but she also fought the Army of the Dead herself. It's not like she was hiding down in the crypts of Winterfell during the entire battle, but Sansa does still not like her. Even though Dany is the main reason Sansa is even still alive, Sansa does not want to see her sitting on the Iron Throne. I have to be honest, I did not like the way Sansa was acting in this episode. I did not mind when Sansa was speaking up for the North, but I think she has taken things too far this time. Now, I obviously understand why she would act like that at first. Sansa does not know Dany, and based on the Starks and the Targaryens' history together, Sansa did have a reason to be cautious. However, I think Dany has now shown that she can be trusted. It's not like she's asking them to forgive her father for everything he had done. Dany just doesn't want everyone to judge her for her father's crimes. What Sansa is doing behind Dany's back could get her killed. Sansa also lied right to Jon's face out in the Godswood. Not even 5 minutes go by and Sansa already starts to tell other characters the truth about Jon. This is something Grey Area and I talked about well over a year ago on my channel when we collaborated together. We said if anyone will cause issues between Jon and Dany, it will absolutely be Sansa Stark. And you can already see how things are about to unfold. Daenerys will eventually lose everything that she has. Like I said, Jorah Mormont is already gone. Missandei is now dead. Most of her soldiers are dead, and now she only has one dragon remaining. Even if Dany is somehow able to defeat Cersei Lannister and take King's Landing, it will cost her every single thing that she has. Now that all these other characters are starting to find out Jon has the rightful claim, they are already thinking of ways to make sure Dany does not sit on the Iron Throne by the end. Even if Jon doesn't want it, it really won't matter. Think about it like this. Who does Dany have on her side to make sure she can keep the Iron Throne if she wins the battle for King's Landing? She has her dragon, she has her very small force of soldiers, and she has Tyrion and Varys. Well, most of her soldiers will die in King's Landing. There is also a very good chance that Dany loses her other dragon. Cersei and Qyburn now have dozens and dozens of ballistas aiming at the sky. Now they only have to aim it at one dragon, which means Dany will have to avoid getting hit by every single shot that's fired. That's very hard to do when you have that many firing at you at the same time. Qyburn must have done something extra to these new ballistas because they went right through Rhaegal like a hot knife through butter. As ridiculous as that scene may have been, I knew it would happen. They needed to take away another one of Dany's dragons just so they could make the battle interesting. I would have rather seen Rhaegal die fighting than die like this. I cannot even begin to tell you how angry I was when I saw Rhaegal fall into the water like he did. I would love it if Dany was somehow able to get some armor made for Drogon before she goes into battle next episode. So if Dany ends up losing the rest of her soldiers and her other dragon, all she would really have left on her side is Tyrion and Varys. Well, as you can see in the episode, they're not about to be on her side for very long, especially when she starts to burn King's Landing down to nothing but ash. We have already seen what Varys is ready to do. He's already thinking about having Dany murdered. Now, most of you should have already seen this coming. I have been predicting this in my videos for quite some time. They really started to foreshadow this betrayal during Season 6.
Should I tell you what the voice said? Should I tell you the name of the one who spoke? We serve the same queen. If you are her true friend, you have nothing to fear from me.
I recently made a video where I said I think Varys and Tyrion will betray Daenerys together, mostly because these characters are always together, and they have been this way ever since they left King's Landing back in Season 4. Varys is already trying to convince Tyrion that Dany is not the right one to stand behind. Sooner or later, both of them will turn their backs on Dany. This will most likely lead to them getting killed. We already know Varys is meant to die by the end of the season. Melisandre and Kinvara foreshadowed this.
If you don't mind my saying, I don't think you should return to Westeros. I'm not sure you'd be safe here.
Oh, I will return, dear Spider. One last time.
My lady.
I have to die in this strange country. Just like you.
So this is how I think all of this is about to unfold. Like I said before, Dany will have no choice but to attack King's Landing. They will make her out to look like the monster, which most of us know is not the truth. King's Landing will get caught on fire, then Dany's story will ultimately end in a tragedy. She will lose everything she has in order to take back the Iron Throne, and as soon as she does that, she will end up dying for it as well. What makes this even worse is the fact that Jon doesn't even want the Iron Throne, and neither of them will sit on the Iron Throne by the end. Varys and Tyrion will both be executed for their treason. Varys already committed this, but Tyrion will soon follow in his footsteps. We also know that Jaime Lannister, Arya Stark, and Sandor Clegane are on their way down here as well. This is how they will end up getting to Cersei Lannister. I made some videos about this already, but I think they will find a secret way to get into the Red Keep. Jaime will then kill Cersei, Sandor will kill his brother, and I'm not exactly sure about Arya Stark. Maybe she ends up helping the Hound kill his brother in some way. They did talk about this before, a very long time ago.
I can't sleep until I say the names.
The names of every fucking person in Westeros.
Only the ones I'm going to kill.
Hate's as good a thing as any to keep a person going. Better than most. We come across my brother. Maybe we can both cross a name off a list.
This was foreshadowed several times in the last episode. Sandor Clegane will not be able to rest until he knows his brother is dead. We will absolutely get Clegane Bowl next episode. Now, Jaime did make it sound like he needed to be with Cersei, but I think he will be the one to kill her. I'm thinking that maybe he said all of that to Brienne just to make sure that she did not try to follow him. I'm not exactly sure, but there is no way Jaime falls back into the same trap. His character has come too far to do that again. I also think there is a reason why Cersei talked about the baby in front of Euron Greyjoy. That has to be setting up something for later. Now, Euron should know that baby is not his. Cersei just told him about it in that episode, but when Tyrion shows up to talk to Cersei in front of the gate, he somehow knows about the baby already. How would Tyrion know that Cersei is pregnant when Euron just found out himself? I think when Jaime shows up to kill Cersei, he will most likely say something to Euron. That is, of course, if he has the chance. Jaime could be the one to kill Euron, but I could also see him getting killed by Dany's dragon. Either way, they will all end up dead by the end of the battle. Now you know who I think ends up with the most power in the end? Sansa Stark. Since Cersei and most likely Dany will be dead, and Jon Snow is out of the way, Sansa will be the last one standing who somehow ends up holding most of the cards. That's what I think eventually happens by the end. Sansa is staying in Winterfell during the battle, so she will most likely still be alive at the end of the story. Arya said she's never going back to Winterfell, which was kind of actually sad to hear her say that, but I totally understand it. As we all know, Arya is like Nymeria after all. She is meant to be out in the wild.
I'm heading north, girl. Back to Winterfell, I'm finally going home. Come with me. That's not you.
Now I don't know if we ever need to see Gendry again. Unless he goes down to King's Landing to fight, I doubt we will see him there. He was legitimized like I thought he would be, and he was given Storm's End. Now that him and Arya have went their separate ways, Gendry's story might be done. I really don't see what else they could have him do. Sam and Gilly's story is basically done. It did seem like Jon and Sam said their final farewells to each other, and it wasn't very clear where Sam and Gilly would go next, but they might end up back at Sam's childhood home to raise their baby together. Now, one conversation that I did find very interesting was when Jon said goodbye to Tormund Giantsbane. I could not help but get the sense that Jon somehow ends up back in the far north. Everything that was said in that conversation felt like it was foreshadowing how Jon's story would end. The only thing is, I'm not exactly sure where Jon would go. I don't really see him living way out beyond the wall with all the wildlings, but I really can't see him going back to Castle Black either. It seems like the Night's Watch no longer serves a purpose. The wildlings have been accepted into the Seven Kingdoms, and as far as we know, the Night King and the Army of the Dead are gone forever. So why would they still need the Wall and the Night's Watch? Not to mention, the Wall has been collapsed at Eastwatch by the Sea. So unless someone knows how to fix that, everything north of the Wall can still get south anyway. Who knows, maybe Jon does not go back in that direction, but it definitely felt like their conversation was setting something up for later. I did not like the last scene Jon and Ghost had together either, so hopefully he does see him again in the end. It would be really nice if Jon and Ghost were able to get at least one meaningful scene together. I don't think that's asking for much. This episode was another sad reminder of how close we are to the end. When we saw Jon saying his goodbyes to everyone, I could not help but think this might be the last time we ever see some of these characters together again. Now I know this season has a lot of fans upset, which I do understand, but knowing things are almost over does make me kind of emotional. This show has made such a big impact on my life. Ever since I started making videos, which is several years ago now, I have thought about the story and these characters every single day. It's definitely going to be hard to say goodbye to these characters once the final episode does end. Anyways, let me know your thoughts on the episode. How do you think all these different storylines will end? I want to thank everyone for watching another video, and I also want to thank all of you for supporting the channel. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you again very soon. Bye.